Now, this is a shocking statistic. 78,000 Australian teenagers are addicted to video games. The World Health Organisation has in fact recognised gaming disorder as an official condition, which leaves many parents stressed, schools frustrated and kids feeling isolated in the real world. Dr Hu Kim Lee is a child and adolescent psychiatrist specialising in video game addiction, and he joins us now. Kim, hello to you.
Hi, how are you going?
So tell us about this, because a child addicted to video games, what's the difference between enjoying playing and being an addict?
Yeah, well, obviously these video games are designed to be fun, but they're making so much money, they're competing against each other, they're also designed to be addictive, and that's how they keep us ongoing forever. The games don't end, and when someone has trouble stopping, they have trouble controlling the game, and the game controls them, and nothing else matters, and the game is the #1 priority, that's when we start seeing red flags and start asking the question, does this child have a problem?
And what are some of the examples of cases that you've come across?
Yeah, well, I've seen children not go to school, you know, miss school 50 days a year, 100 days a year, a few years, children who are not eating or drinking, they're not showering, they're not bathing, they're staying inside their rooms, not leaving their rooms, and in some rare cases, paediatricians are sending me young children who are actually soiling themselves as they're playing a video game.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
Because many people, viewers watching this would say, well, why don't the parents just take the games off them? If it's causing such dramas, take the thing away.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Is it easier said than done?
Yeah, it's super complex. So many factors leading to this problem, and, you know, we have to look at all the information, what's happening in the family, what's happening at school. Maybe the child is being bullied at school and the only social interaction that they're getting is in the video game itself. Yeah.
Now, you're taking your Unplugged workshop to Australian schools to try to help parents and schools and kids themselves overcome this issue. What can parents do then? What's your advice to parents first up to help kids through? Because I've been told that as adults, we should actually play the games with the kids to get a bit of an insight into what they're doing rather than sort of sitting from judgment up on high.
Yeah, I mean, playing the games with your kids, trying to find out what kind of content they're exposed to. Just having a conversation. We know that the Royal Children's Hospital recently did a poll and they found out that children under the age of 6, 50% of those kids are using the iPad unsupervised. And we know that a lot of teenagers aren't actually having conversations with their parents about what kind of content they're looking at and what kind of games they're playing. Which
is quite a frightening statistic. But it's all good and well for us to sort of point the finger at kids and at teenagers and say, isn't this appalling, they're addicted? Well, we're on our devices all the time as well. So, I mean, adults, we're just as bad.
We have to set a good example. And a lot of the times when we set guidelines for families, you know, don't have a screen at the dinner table, sometimes the children are the first to say, Mum and Dad, you're on the screen yourselves.
Taking a call from work, checking your emails, doing all of that stuff while we're saying no screen time.
Yeah, so we have to set a good example.
Now, lots of people at home have been sending in examples of their own and also wanting to get some information. So are you happy to answer a couple of emails that we've had? So Luciana has sent in a question saying, my 13-year-old boy is addicted to Fortnite despite boundaries, rules and everything else. He is obsessed. He gets angry, makes very serious threats, and while I don't wish to admit it, it's pretty scary. She's wondering if you've got some suggestions.
That sounds scary, and you know, when physical threats are being made, that's a very effective way to control someone, and that's an example of domestic violence. And you really need to get other people to help you, other family members. We know that parents with single-parent families, they struggle a lot to supervise and parent their children, and if it comes to the physical point, then you're going to have to call the police, unfortunately.
You reckon she should get the police involved?
If it gets to that point, yeah.
OK, all right. Now, Lisa has also got a question. She says, how do I talk to my child without it sounding like I'm being mean or taking him away from his social life and friends who are also online? When it's not in his hands, he'll constantly be thinking about it, asking about it, and the meltdowns are big. Help! is what she says.
Yeah, I mean, meltdowns is a part of parenting, and you know what one of my favourite TV shows is?
What's that?
It's the airline TV show, because those airline TV shows, they're actually dealing with adults having tantrums every day.
So you see that.
So they're the experts. So when I watch those shows, they're using a very neutral tone of voice. They're very matter of fact. They just, like a broken record, they just repeat what they're saying and confirm, why they're doing what they're doing, and give the kids two choices.
So that's the approach you should take?
That's one of my recommendations.
And the two choices are?
the two choices always is within the parent's favour. So it's either you game for another hour and then tomorrow you don't get any games, or you stop playing the games and do your homework.
Right, OK. Yeah. Cut and dry, make it cut
Yeah.
and dry. And it's always good to set those time limits, which you can on games. So you're not the person telling them to get off, it's the technology that's telling it for them, so that you're removing yourself from being the person getting the abuse.
You have to distance yourself from the emotion and avoid just cutting it off directly, like in the middle of the game, because then the emotions start getting out, and then that's when sometimes the threats and violence come out.
But just 5 more minutes. Can I just do it for 5 more minutes? You hear that all the time.
Yeah.
So, but what are the physical health implications too? Because you mentioned the cases that you've come across, but that sort of addiction to gaming, how does that play out physically? Yeah,
well, of course, you know, if you're sitting there for hours on end, you're not moving your body, and the World Health Organization is really concerned about obesity being the #1 killer. And then also eye surgeons, they're saying that when you're looking at a screen, you're blinking 50% less, so your eyes get dry.
Yeah, right.
And for children under the age of 7, your brain needs to be out, like it needs to get outdoor sunlight, you need to be outdoors playing for your visual centres to develop in your brain. So that you don't develop short-sightedness. So a safe balance. You can still play this stuff, but just within barriers and with parameters. It's all about balance. Yeah, fantastic.